have hostilities ceased in Israel?
Well, the hostages,
or Gaza,
hostilities have ceased. It looks like hostages have been released by Hamas to the Israelis, and a concordant number of Palestinian prisoners have been released as well. It looks like Tony Blair is all over this, by the way. And there's going to be some kind of technocratic administration in Gaza, which sounds fucking horrible.
Is there anyone else in Gaza except Israel at the moment? Like, have any UN troops going in or anything like that?
No.
Are the Americans going to go and spread some freedom?
No, I don't think the Americans are going to send in any.
They said there might be like 200 Americans there at some point, but they made it sound like they were going to be involved in like organization and logistical shit, not anything else. But we all know that's probably horse shit.
Yeah, bingo and hand out some cokes.
Guess we'll see, won't we?
Well, it's some good news.
Someday you'll bend the knee, Wayne, when you become the 51st province.
Is there any news on that?
No. The Canadians are still being obstinate, denying their destiny, living in the past.
They just want to feel valued. They want to feel like they're worth taking by force.
They want to feel Prince Charles's chubby sausage fingers running through their hair.
Hot.
Actually, we are still in the US timing. We should talk a bit more about the American stuff before the Europeans come. We can talk more about the American topics. I think a lot of policy changes also, right, in United States. A lot of things. I think the big one is the best of most favored nations for the medicine and the drugs. That's a very big news, which the media don't want to talk more about. And so I think the infamous American medical cost is going to be history soon. Archimedes, what do you think?
I'll believe it when I see it. Dramatic. I mean, I hope to see it. I hope we do see it, but I don't know. I think that's kind of pretty far down the list of problems. But yeah, no, we'll see what happens with these pharmaceuticals.
And then, like on the No Kings protest, I mean, me and Archimedes were talking about this earlier. I took some pictures and stuff. You know, there was a few feds mixed in, maybe a couple Antifa-looking possible little faggots, but mostly like Archimedes said, you know, it was like really old boomer people.
Yep.
I even saw my mother-in-law at the end of the march. I waved at her. She saw me up in the window, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm taking pictures. I'm turning her over to DHS later tonight. Finally, after all these years, I'll get that old hag."
There's ICE enforcers patrolling the streets and shit. Is that going on?
No, they had.
Oh my God, there's two of me.
They had inflatable. There was inflatable people walking around in the thing. I saw the Kool-Aid man. Oh, and I was going to tell you, Wayne, some guy had a one-piece flag. So I thought that was funny you mentioned it. He had a one-piece flag. And then there was somebody with a commie flag. And then there was, all the No King shit.
Well, this is the thing. These people are thoroughly, thoroughly unserious, right? I mean, this is, there is really no serious opposition to Trump with any energy from the Democrats, like there was back in 2020 when there was the BLM protests. Now those were serious kinetic protests. There was a lot of monkeying around, let's just say, that was going on during that time. And there's none of that this time. There's none of it at all. It's actually incredibly peaceful. And in fact, the entire media narrative that the left is pushing is simply jerking themselves off about how peaceful they are, as opposed to, the boomer con Fox News narrative that, they're so violent. oh no, we're actually peaceful. I mean, this is a really nice position for the left to be in, to be bending over backwards to say, actually, we're weak, we're ineffective, we're weak, we're ineffective. Please, 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 don't hurt us anymore. We're useless and worthless. You know, listen to this. This is from this organization called Democrats Abroad. Okay. Of other events around the world to, quote, no tyrants.
The fuck?
What I liked was the statement by the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He said it was the most terrifying thing he'd ever seen.
Hey, did that come through? I'm not sure if my audio is working. Did you guys hear my reading from the Democrats Abroad?
No.
You need to repeat again.
You did disappear for a moment.
Heck, fail, bro.
Yeah, you got cut off somehow.
Then Wayne started speaking.
Okay, give me a second. I have technical issues.
Jesus.
I'm more concerned about no Viceroy's Day than King's.
What's a viceroy?
I don't know. It sounds scary though.
I just love, the guy, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, being absolutely terrified of protesters.
I'm pretty sure he was probably being sarcastic. He was probably being sarcastic when he saw those protesters with walkers and shit. You know, Pokemon and One Piece. Yeah, he was terrified.
No, it was the naked bike ride he was upset about.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, right? They're very upset. Oh, yes, we're going to make the Republicans upset by showing them how weak and pathetic and, and hilarious we are, right? And this is what the Democrats are trying to do. They're trying to show themselves to be as pointless as possible. So go ahead and let me just read this out.
Hang on, before you do, I was just going to say, I think a viceroy is what happens like when you miss out on becoming a duke, you become a viceroy. That's, I think that's what that is.
Right.
Super chat by Johari. Vaughn, how's the government shutdown affecting people? Oh yeah, that's a good question, actually.
Well, supposedly, like a lot of the government employees aren't getting paid. The military's not getting paid. Supposedly, I don't know. I usually they figure that shit out, and even if they don't get paid, they still get back pay. So it's not like they'll be out anything other than the.
This happens every 2 years, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
who gives a shit?
The only thing that might come out of it that would be noteworthy would be if they actually fire a bunch of these people during the shutdown, which is legal. And he's already tried, but a judge stepped in, so now they got to go through that bullshit before he gets told he can do it. So, maybe we'll lose 10 or 20,000, maybe 40 or 50 if it's really good. But I wouldn't put it higher than 50,000 layoffs if he pulls this off. But even then, I don't know what that's really going to affect or what area that's going to be in. If it's like in worthless departments, then that would be great. But if it's in places we actually need people.
Well, this was one of the great wins of the early Trump 2025 administration, right? Was killing USAID, or not quite killing it, but almost killing it. And that's what we want to see more of. Or what I want to see more of anyway. I won't speak for anyone else. Is the destruction of this bureaucratic state. And part of that is, just to come back to what I was saying earlier, is this organization called Democrats Abroad. And I just want to read something from them. They're talking about the No Kings protests being organized around the world, not just in America, because after all, we do have to all unite against Orange Hitler. A few notes, quote, "We've changed the No Kings theme of other events around the world to No Tyrants, so as not to mix messages in a country with a monarchy. We're also swapping out no crowns in favor of no clowns. Come dress as a Trump clown, as Donald Trump himself or as one of his cronies." I think this whole thing is a psyop it's just a psyop to fucking make Democrats make fools of themselves.
I tried to dress up like Kristi Noem earlier, but I just couldn't get the makeup right. It kept fucking.
I think that's illegal in Trump's America. You can't do that anymore.
Oh shit! Well, I didn't videotape.
The lady that hates dogs. Doesn't she hate dogs?
Yeah, she shot a dog because it wasn't trainable, apparently.
Toby, I've been in VCs where you've had fucking peanut barking. I think you're not. Don't say that you're above that type of behavior. One bad
shooting
day and you'd
dogs?
snap. Yeah.
I don't shoot my dogs. I'm not
Well,
some psycho from Alabama.
Hey, she's from South Dakota.
Same thing.
Wow. The ignorance on display.
Anyway, I gotta run, guys. It's pretty late here. Have a good evening.
You better get some sleep before that invasion.
Yeah, I need my beauty sleep. Look at this is what
you need a lot more than that.
Screen.
Oh, I really don't want. I don't want the house tour win.
See, two different screens.
2 screens, huh?
Woo! Yeah. I decided to get fancy. Makes working easier. Anyway, have a good evening.
Yeah.
See you, Win. I got 3 screens. Yeah.
So I have a question about.
Go ahead.
I have a question, Wyatt, for you about the Ukraine reporting. I've just been watching the reports over the last couple of weeks. It seems like both sides have accepted that they're going to go back to the borders. I see the advances in Donetsk towards the borders with Pokrovsk and the rest of it. They seem to be stopping when they get to the borders of Zaporizhia.
Yeah, but it's not.
Do you think we're just going to see Yeah, but Russia is not doing any massive movements. It just seems to me that Russia is just grinding it out, and that both sides might be essentially waiting for the peace to break out, and that it will be along the lines of what Russia has already proposed.
Yeah, I that's the feeling I get as well. It's like there is this consideration on the back of the mind. Maybe the war is going to end suddenly, so you don't conquer places that is not necessary. But then in certain places they still invaded into the Dnipro-Petrov region. So I think then other parts, they follow the border of Donetsk very closely. So it's super weird. It's it's just not a normal war. It's really like what they say, special military operation. It's there's a very specific thing that they're trying to do, but it's really unclear what they're trying to do. So
attrition.
That's what the Ukrainians say too. It's super funny when I read the Ukrainian, the pro-Ukrainian narrative. They're saying exactly what the pro-Russians are saying. Is that it's not about conquering grounds. It's about attritioning and killing off the enemies.
Well, did you see History Legends' last report about the attrition warfare of this year? I guess from Kursk to now, and he said that the casualty rate between the Russians and the Ukrainians is basically 1-to-1, maybe 1.1 or 2 to 1, slightly in favor of the Russians. So but he was also saying last year the Russians would lose 10 men per kilometer advance. This year it's down to 5 men. So they're taking less casualties to get the same amount of ground. And it's just more the signs of just how scattered the Ukrainian army is, because it's obviously what's going on is they're finding these spots where the Ukrainians are weak and putting the heat on them, and then it draws them in from other places, and then those places open up, and you can see the whole. You got Komar, you got the Hulapole area, you got Pokrovsk, you got that whole Toretsk area, Seversk, Kupiansk, Lyman, and Yampol. Look at what happened in Vochansk too. That picked up big time the other day. So even that, I wouldn't have thought that was, likely to give that much up all of a sudden. So who knows? But there's a lot of places the Russians are picking up ground. A lot of people say, it's not a lot. But it's key pieces of terrain that they need to get. It's they only took a couple tree lines, but you look at the tree lines they took, and it's they're working their way around and up or down and around. It's they don't have to go head on. They just go around everybody, and then you get caught in the impossible salience. And you got to look at I'm wondering what's going on with Kupiansk on the east side. because those guys are getting pushed down from the north and east and in the east and the southeast, not as much from the south, but it's like they really can't cross back into Kupiansk on the west side because the Russians are pretty much sitting on that bridge. So I assume that's cut off and that's not an access route. So, I mean, what's going on the east side? Are these guys slowly dropping southwest back out of that pocket to get south of, Kupiansk before the west side falls? Because I don't see them getting across the river anywhere around Kupiansk proper. And that salience, once they get that bridge, I mean, or if they take that west side of Kupiansk, let's say another kilometer south of where they're at right now, I mean, that's kind of a wrap for the east side of the city. I mean, I guess you could stay in there and fight, but then you got to worry about getting cut off from the south because you can't go east, you can't go west anymore, you can't go north. It's only really that southern way out. And I wonder if I mean, I've heard stories of them saying they've authorized the evacuation and withdrawal of troops, but I don't know if that's going on down there or not, but that seems like something that should be happening, but I don't know.
I saw Odessa got put under martial law too. Zelensky said the mayor is like a closet Russian or something. And so there's obviously like a lot going on politically inside the parts of Ukraine that aren't on the front line, because that kind of came out of nowhere. But it makes me really wonder what the public sentiment is like throughout Ukraine, because obviously in places like Lvov it might still be quite rosy, but if Odessa's being put under martial law, I don't imagine Curzon will be all that happy, or Kharkov or Sumy.
I saw something too, though. Somebody was saying that the Russians may, I think it was the Ukrainians were claiming the Russians might try to do some kind of amphibious assault, which I don't see happening. I mean, I can see them getting prepared for the defense of Odessa down the road, but even right now, I mean, unless they're that worried that, they want to go ahead and militarize Odessa now and just, have another 6 months to a year to get ready. I don't think the
Russians are going to precipitate. I don't think the Russians are going to precipitate any large-scale military action, and the reason is that the narrative that they have to push in this war is to win hearts and minds in Ukraine. They can't have some kind of bloodthirsty ethnic hatred that leads to the eradication of folks, because there's too many cultural and family ties between Russia and Ukraine. And they'd be perfectly well aware that people are being conscripted and fed into the meat grinders on the front lines, and killing them doesn't really do anything for Russia. What advances Russia's cause is killing their ideological enemies. So people who take money from NATO, people who are usually in the back lines, people in the SBU, the oligarchs that profit from the alliance with NATO. So that's a very intelligence-focused war. They're not going to break out a large-scale conflict on the front line, which would lead to, significant civilian and troop casualties. I don't see the incentive, and it would harm the narrative they're trying to push, that they actually care about the loss of life. And the other thing is, if and when there is a political settlement, all those young men in the trenches on the Ukrainian side are going to be required to go and work either in the fields or in the factories, because otherwise occupying Ukraine and managing Ukraine as a going concern becomes like a real problem. Because it's one thing to win a prize, but if your prize is a chemically irradiated wasteland with nobody in it, full of weeds and empty mines that are leaking and infrastructure that's decaying, and you haven't got the manpower to staff that, so like what happens then? It becomes like massively costly to upkeep it. It doesn't become a productive asset. So I think Russia are looking towards a political settlement where all of those people in the Ukrainian trenches actually go to work as part of the redeemed Russian Brotherhood. I'm not saying this is going to happen or that it's a righteous thing or anything else, but this is the Russian win condition, is that they actually start they regain economic control and profitability out of that part of the world. That's not going to happen if you just have these massively costly battles that involve the huge loss of life and casualties on both sides. So I think Russia are playing politically, and I don't think their objective is to kill large numbers of people. I think they'd like to kill very specific people.
Yeah.
But I think that's more of an intelligence operation than anything else.
You look at the situation in Ukraine, you see the way that, look, Russia's problem with Ukraine has not exactly some specific territory of the Donbass, right? I mean, look at the idea that Russia simply needs to, that their win condition, as you put it, is simply to achieve, the 4 oblasts, like those particular lines in the sand, right? Like, what's so special about those lines? I mean, if you look at the map of Russian speakers and Russian ethnics in Ukraine, it doesn't exactly conform to that line. There's a huge amount of Russian speakers and culture and in Odessa, and Kharkiv and all the rest, and the rest of that sort of zone. Well, sure, yeah.
No, well, this is the thing, right? It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. Some people believe that Russia begins in Alsace,
So what I'm saying is that the point is that ultimately the Ukrainian identity itself, is sort of deeply connected to the Russian one in a way that the Polish identity isn't. Not even in the same way, right? Even the Baltics. Well, you don't think so, huh? But I think Ukraine, if you look at its history, is more deeply connected to Russia than the others. So it's not about just taking these. Yeah.
If you made a poll,
take the super chats to you on Rumble. Say, Toby, I agree.
Of course you do. Of course you do. No, so here's the thing, Archimedes. If you meet your average Pole, sober, drunk, whatever, right, just in the street, and he's polishing along, does that strike you as like a German or a Russian? If you had to lean one way or the other,
as a Pole, nothing more, nothing less.
No,
it's truly an independent Pole in the multipolar world,
you're such a sneaky man. Come on, just tackle this head on. Be brave.
Is he more of a Russian or more of a German? Is that what you're asking?
What are you vibing?
Vibe-wise,
feeling Mother Russia, or are you feeling like
vibe-wise, Poland is 100% within the fucking Slav squat, fucking suka bliat fucking side of Europe. It's true. Except instead of suka bliat, it's kurwa. You know what I mean? They're Slavs. It's true. I see what you're saying. They're poors from the eastern side of poor. Europe in general is very poor, but Eastern Europe is especially poor. I mean, the commies were, fucking brokies. You know what I mean? They didn't know how to party like we did in America.
They might not love money as much as your people, Archimedes.
That's all I'm trying to say. And what do you mean your people?
Well, they've got forests.
Last I heard, it was your people who love the money the most. Being part of the IAJ, the indigenous
slaves of Australia?
The indigenous Australian Jew himself. Yeah. You love money.
Well, I don't know if that's
regardless. True. Not as much as the Ukrainians, right? And this is the story with the Ukrainian Oblast, man. It's not about the territory, right? It's about the nation of Ukraine. It's about the state of Ukraine. Whether the state of Ukraine is in the western camp or the eastern camp, right? Poland is culturally right in the eastern camp, okay, because of the 20th century and because of the history before that. But politically, they're absolutely, economically, absolutely in the Western sphere of influence, right? Right now, they're on Team West, they're on Team NATO, and Ukraine. If Ukraine is to join Team NATO, that is the thing, the outcome that Russia, I believe, fundamentally wants to avoid. It doesn't exactly matter what the lines on the map are. It matters whether Ukraine is really part of Team West or not. And so, what this will require, in order for this. For Russia to have a win condition is for Ukraine to be broken up into 2 independent states, quote unquote independent states of West Ukraine, East Ukraine, if you will, or Ukraine and Ukraine if you prefer, just like Korea and North and South Korea. You have these 2 Ukraines. One of them is Western, one of them is Eastern. That's what has to happen, I believe. It's not about the territory that Russia annexes directly. Ultimately, there needs to be a split in the country.
Could we call the Lvov region Galicia? Could we do that?
Well, I think it's going to have to be either Galicia. Well, I think it's going to have to be Ukraine. Realistically, it'll be called Ukraine by the West, and the other side will be called, the the unrecognized territories that are temporarily occupied.
If you don't call it Galicia, then you lose the opportunity of reminding the world that Poland basically grabbed all that land off the Austro-Hungarian Empire about 100 years ago.
Well, you'd have to Policize Galicia. That's part of the deal. Like, what's the Polish version of Galicia?
Well, that's Ukraine.
Well, the word, right? If you say it in Polish.
Galicia. Well, Galicia was the province that encompassed Warsaw and Lvov when it was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, right? So that whole region of southern Poland and western Ukraine was a province called Galicia, and it was an interesting province because it had Catholics in Warsaw, and it had Orthodox over in Lvov. Warsaw was much more urban, more developed economy. The area around Lvov was very rural, agrarian. It wasn't highly developed. The Mongols had kind of kept the whole of Ukraine depopulated for so long. There was no real size of anything. But it was a really staunch Orthodox population in one half of Galicia and Catholic Polish in the other. And when the Austro-Hungarian Empire was broken up and Galicia was just, dismembered at the end of the First World War, the Allies, using their new client state of Poland, grabbled up a good part of Galicia and tried to get all of it. And they ended up fighting the Orthodox folks who were Banderas people, right? Banderas people actually lived in what is now Poland because they were in like the middle part of Galicia. And all those Orthodox folks got sort of like ethnically cleansed out of there as the Polish moved in, hence all the bad blood between Poland and Ukraine today.
Well, the Ukrainians got them back from there.
Well, yeah, kind of. Well, the Germans did, right? And then and this is why Bandera and his folks were like cheering on the Germans, because the Germans invaded Poland and did away with this allied concept of a Polish state briefly. That didn't last very long, because at the end of the war it rose again from the ashes. I just think that if we're going to go back to a two-state solution, if you've got a Western Ukraine, that's the context it's going back into. You're talking about a place that used to be part of a bigger place that was a big problem place. So I don't know. I just don't know how viable it is to have a Western Ukraine, just because of the history with Poland, the history with Hungary, history with Belarus, the history with Russia. I don't know. I just kind of feel like if there was going to be such a state as Ukraine, then there would be a state called Ukraine, and there kind of isn't. It's just a shit fight, like leftover battlefield from Second World War that no one wanted. So I don't know.
Well,
I really have no idea.
Could it become like some new form of Ukraine? Like it could be renamed to Malorussia or something, or Novorussia. The whole thing, I mean, the point is that
those people might be really nice and split up ponies, but doesn't look like it. It looks like they're carrying on the Bandera ideology of trying to create a pure ethno state in the middle of Western Europe, middle of Europe, which is bananas, right? Nevertheless, here we are, right? You do have a group of people, like, I'm not saying Nazi because that's a German thing 80 years ago, whatever, 100 years ago, but the thing is about the ethnocentric ideology of Bandera, he barely even called it ideology. He didn't read books or anything. He's just like this goon, right? And a young man. But this ethnocentric idea that a state is born from bloodshed and violence, it's fascinating from like a poetic, academic, theoretical point of view. But it's going to get your curb stomped in the modern world when you're talking about states that have got serious weapons, let alone nukes. So the whole thing is just very... I don't know. I don't really take Ukraine seriously as a state because they're attacking Russia and they live next door to Russia and they don't have nukes. And so I can reason my way to the outcome of that, and it's not very good for Ukraine. So, like, it doesn't seem like a serious place to me. Fighting Russia without nukes when you live next door to them doesn't seem like a very good idea. It doesn't seem like a thing a serious person would do.
I think... like some of the things that'll have to happen with whatever's left of Ukraine is, the Russians are going to have, I stand by, they're going to have to control an area around Chernobyl. Realistically, they're going to have to cut over across the Dnieper at some point and take Kryvyi Rih, because that's another nuclear site. And then eventually they're going to have to get down to Odessa, however they do that, by force or negotiation. And they need to link up with Transnistria. And, that needs to, and run it up along the Dnieper, do whatever you want to do with Kiev. Maybe it's an open city. Maybe it's a neutral city. Maybe it's Russian. Maybe they take everything on the east side. I don't know. But I think the bottom line is like whatever's left of Ukraine. I mean, I would assume the Russians will have a heavy presence there, whether they're wanted or not, to finish hunting down and dealing with nationalists and other political issues and problems. So, I mean, there'll be the Civil War. There'll be, basically the, Nazi hunter 2.0 that's going to go on across, Ukraine and Europe and wherever, So, I mean, I think it'll, maybe somebody smart could get in there and just say, hey, turn us into like a transportation hub or something beneficial to the surrounding countries. I don't know what that would be, but I mean, really, they need to really be kind of neutered into a small area. I mean, I joke around with Miro and say the Polish should just move in there now and say they're there to stabilize the area and then just don't leave. Just kind of forget to leave. And maybe in a few years, nobody will care. I mean, as long as it's stable and stuff, it doesn't really matter what happens. But I think the bottom line for Russia is that place has to be, set up the way they want it, all the way around it, and then they're going to probably have a real big say in what goes on inside of whatever's left of Ukraine, the dirty work and the rebuilding, through proxies. But I
agree with all that. I agree with all that, but like I don't see how the Dnieper can be part of an independent Ukraine or a Western Ukraine, and the reason is Belarus, because like Russia already control the mouth of the Dnieper. The Dnieper it goes right up into Belarus to Minsk, right? That's their port channel. That's their artery, commercial artery for all their exports and imports. If that belongs to geopolitically the other side, then Belarus is really like not winning. If Russia and Belarus together can control the whole of the Dnieper, so in other words, if they get Kiev and they get the Dnieper and a buffer zone along there, that is geopolitically fantastic for the relationship between Belarus and Russia.
I mean, I think that's how it's going to be. Whatever.
I think it has to be more than anything, because at the end of the day, the thing that really founds any of the idea of Ukraine is the same thing that founded Russia, right? The Kievan Rus, right? I mean, Kiev was one of the prime cities out of the 8 or 9 big cities that were around there, were part of the Rus, and Kiev was the first among them. So it's central to the Russian identity in a way that the rest isn't. And so it's very important, I think, for Russia to control Ukraine, which is capitaled in Kiev, right? But whatever is capital in Kiev, I think it's important for Russia to control the Kiev Republic, whatever it is. Okay? Now, the problem I have is if Russia takes over, comes out with a favorable political environment wherein they have a friendly government in Kiev, okay, sitting on the bank of the Dnieper, then in that scenario, we have a problem. We have a big problem with the West. We have a big problem with Lviv. Okay, because now all of a sudden you have a little Donbass in mirror in the West with Lviv. And you're going to have little green men, little blue trannies coming across. And it'll be a big fucking problem. All right.
Well, that's where I think Vaughan's right. I think what Vaughan said will happen then, where the Polish will just move in to keep the peace, and then they'll just never leave. And I think that at that point, like, well, what will happen is the people of that region will be given a fair choice. It's like, do you want to become part of Poland and thereby join the EU and be able to travel the West freely, which is what everybody there wants? Or alternatively, do you want to be an independent Ukraine and be occupied by Poland and basically be on life support with no real industry and arguing with Poland? And that could carry on for a long period of time. But I believe the people would vote to actually just become part of Poland so that they get their EU benefits, right? And I think Russia could live with that. Russia could live with Poland taking Lvov and the surrounding region, as long as Russia and Belarus get the Dnieper.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, I kind of always feel this way too. I kind of feel like the realistic border is Russia gets everything east of the Dnieper, all the way up Chernihiv, Kharkiv, all that. I don't know how that's going to play out, how that's going to happen unless they drag it out. But I just feel like they have to have that.
I think it's more likely.
And then they have to have Kiev. And then, they need to get probably a strip along the Belarusian-Ukraine border that encompasses Chernobyl and, and just really squash that territory down and give everybody the buffer they want, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers, whatever the hell you need to do to keep people the fuck away from your border. And then, make we got a DMZ.
And so you're saying that the western side of that border is going to be Western aligned. It's going to be under NATO control.
I mean, I kind of feel like for a while it's going to be kind of chaotic.
Well, there's two different borders that we have. There's two different borders you have to talk about, right? The border between Russia and the West in terms of their spheres of influence, and the borders between Russia and whatever state is on the other side of the Russian Federation's state borders. I think the most likely outcome is that the Ukraine, which exists today, which as a state was inaugurated in '91, as a successor to the Ukrainian SSR and so on, that Ukraine is going to continue and it's going to carry on, but it's going to cede, right, the 4 oblasts to Russia, and it's going to cede the 3 oblasts in the west to Poland, but it will continue on as a sort of Belarus, right? It'll be under the Russian sphere of influence. Otherwise, what are you proposing? Are you proposing that Russia annexes the entire territory and then cedes 3 or 4 provinces in the west to the Poles? Or are you suggesting that a Ukraine continues as an independent state under Russian auspices?
I think democracy is incredibly important, and so I think that the Russians and NATO should both engineer democratic referenda to get what they want.
I'm asking, well, what do they want, Toby? What are you saying that they want? Do you think that Russia is going to annex the entire country?
I don't think they're going to take Lvov.
Well, do you think they're going to annex the other 15 oblasts? Or do you think they're only going to annex the 4 oblasts?
That's a nasty, harsh word, annex. So I'm talking about having a democratic referendum respecting the will of the people.
Right, in order to do what? In order to continue the state as it is? In order to annex. Okay, so to annex, right? Yeah, whatever. If you want to do it, I don't care if you use a referendum. That's fine.
Not be like Wayne. We can talk.
Well, okay. Look, so fair. So you annex the thing, right? One way or the other.
With democracy.
But you think that's the most likely scenario?
Yeah, for sure. Everyone's going to make it look like democracy, and it would be so easy as well
to join the Russian Federation. All of these central Ukrainian provinces were. I think that's very unlikely. I don't think the Russians want that. They don't want to take.
I could see more like what you're saying, like a Belarus situation. I just don't know how long it would take to get to that because I just assume the Russians would probably be game for that, having like a little Belarus puppet state. The problem
we haven't seen that in Donbass.
The thing I see is the problem is how many governments are they going to have to cycle through before they get the guy that they want to do that? Like Lukashenko. I mean, I kind of think that would be the ideal way to settle it too, but I just don't know how.
You find your Lukashenko during the war.
Fucking idiots in the West, and then you bring them. Well, I'm just saying you got to worry about the EU meddling and NATO meddling and the US. What I mean? I'm just saying how that would probably work out the best, but where's their Lukashenko?
So now we're saying the win condition for Russia is this incredibly maximalist position where they annex 85% of Ukraine.
Saying is, I mean, if they want to have a working Belarus like they got with the real Belarus, then they've got to find a Lukashenko, and I mean that's going to take some time to sort out.
Archimedes, you're such an imperialist pig, man. It's like This in the Soviet Union, they had the whole thing, and you're talking about like a maximalist win condition that they only end up with 85%. That's like losing 15% to the hated Polish. You see, you're counting your chickens and so forth when you've only got eggs. You already think Zelensky's won. In your mind, the West gets everything. It's disgusting. No, I listen. If they were going to create a new Ukraine, we would have seen it in the Donbass already. Donetsk and Lugansk and the areas entering Kherson, they'd all be united under some flag of southern Ukraine or whatever. But instead, what we've seen is that each one is independently joining the Russian Federation as its own state. And I've noticed that's been really conspicuous. And I think that's very deliberate. I don't think that, the Russian imperialists, God bless them, are all that enthusiastic about Belarus as a concept or Ukraine or Kazakhstan, or any of the other nations that arose as part of the, dissolution of the Russian Empire. after the First World War. And so I think that what they would much rather is to have independent republics, small, join a huge union. What do they got, 90 different republics or something in Russia? That's the system they know. That's the system that works for them. I think they'll continue to do that. I don't think we're going to see like a surviving Ukrainian state within the Russian Federation.
I mean that's fine too, Toby. But I mean, either way, I mean yours or Archimedes' vision. I mean, I see the biggest problem is finding the Lukashenkos to make those happen consistently, and guys that are going to stand up and be there long enough to get this project off the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be. It's not going to be just the 4 oblasts. It's going to be what, like 8 to 12 oblasts probably. So
right.
You got to find.
About Prigozhin.
No, but I mean, think about it. You got to find 8 to 12 guys. You got to vet these guys. You got to put them in and see how it goes.
Yeah, it's doable.
We needed Prigozhin. Prigozhin is off the board, Vaughn.
They just need to find the people.
Look,
Belarus
did it.
Is off the board, Vaughn. I see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to say that Prigozhin would have been the man. He's off the board. You've got to let it go.
He would have. Well, you never know. Maybe he's waiting for this to settle out, and when he's going to run for president of Ukraine.
In Namibia.
Remember, he said he was going to be the president of Ukraine, or whatever the fuck he was saying.
Yeah,
maybe
he's just waiting for his comeback. Coming from.
Prigozhin did give a pretty prescient, timeline back when the Battle of Bakhmut was raging.
Yeah, I think he gave it to 26. Like what?
He said that the Donbass would be taken in 3 years from that point, which is, January 23. He's talking January 26 is when that'll be when the battles of Kramatorsk and Sloviansk will start. I think is what he said, and then it'll take another 3 years to take Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. I think I'm getting my numbers wrong. But it was incredibly prescient, and he, his wisdom lives with us like Nostradamus. R.I.P. Prigozhin.
Do you want to say some words for Priggy? Go on. No words.
His reputation precedes him.
Post dates him as well, but yeah. No, I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah.
What?
I have some good news. I finally able to change the open mic channel, the new open mic channels, the handle to DPA Open Mic. Previously, I wasn't able to change because it was stuck to the old channel. So I changed the old channel to DPA Open Mic Archived, and then the new one has DPA Open Mic New. So now I managed to change it to just DPA Open Mic. So I get back the handle. So anyway, for those that are subscribing over to the new channel, you need 5 minutes as a new subscriber before you can chat in the chat. Yeah, Fightback was asking. Yeah, sorry. just some news, just some admin news. It's a pain to do this migration.
Yeah. Well, I think the open mic is. It's a lot like Evgeny Prigozhin, who died in that helicopter or that plane. It was hit by a missile, by YouTube, and we crashed. But we live on in the woods, scrabbling and scrounging, performing surgery on ourselves, becoming more beast than man. But eventually we'll return right on time. Crawling through the irradiated wastes of Chernobyl to arrive in Kiev at the very moment of decision and crown himself, as the new viceroy of Kiev.
Imagine how insane that will be. When Zelensky was taken out or something, then they need a new Ukraine president, and Prigozhin just appeared. And he didn't die. You'll be like global news, man. You'll be like global news.
And he's just fucking jacked, Like he's just been working out for 8 years,
Then you know what? Then after that, he slimmed down, right? Then he got a 6-pack and everything, and then after that, then a few months after he sorted out all the shit, he'll be welcomed, just like the new Syrian president. Like the former terrorist is now again welcome to the White House and then shake the hand of Donald Trump. It was like,
I don't know why we can't have this, because like AI should be able to generate a digital Prigozhin, and that's all we need, right? Like, we don't actually need a flesh and blood dude. We just need the idea of the man, the great man, and we need like a digital presence and like sports drinks and T-shirts and merch.
Just do a hologram.
I think that must be the reason.
Hologram.
I think that must be the reason.
Onto your phone, he'll talk to you and stuff and give you good advice.
It must be the reason that Russia is taking so long to win this war, right? They're just waiting for the AI tech to catch up to the point where they can produce
I'm disappointed
AI
that they don't
President
have it.
Prigozhin.
They should be able to
give it
do
like
that.
5 years.
If they're going to be a
We'll
superpower, they should be able to do that shit. I'm sure Trump could do that. Trump's probably already got an AI Prigozhin, and like maybe he could negotiate with that. But yeah, I feel like Russia should have, definitely a digital Prigozhin. Why not? It's not like you need the real flesh and blood.
You know why? It'd be funny if you started a fucking DPA Open Mic channel and saw if it did better than this. Because it might. The way that the internet is fucking developing these days, it's just a fucking tragedy, isn't it? I mean, this AI stuff is absolutely just eating the internet alive. And honestly, it kind of makes me happy because it's making me want to, touch grass a little bit more. Or,
it'd be funny too. Like if it made like if it made like images of the actual panelists, they would all be like a blend of. It's like that kind of looks like Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes. That guy kind of looks like Joe Rogan and Michael Noel. It'll be some stupid shit like that. You'll be able to pick. Is that Tucker Carlson mixed with Candace Owens?
Well, this was the plot of Fahrenheit 451. Literally, right? Is basically you have these auto-generated, families that you watch on your little sitcoms on your walls, right? Yeah. What's the super chat? Anyone knows what happened to General Surovikin? He's still around, right? He just got demoted.
I think he's still in Africa, I guess. If I'm not wrong.
He's in Africa. They sent his ass on a mission to
call, I think.
Man,
I think he's hitting the African call.
He really fucked up then for them to send him on the fucking Africa call.
He killed Prigozhin, and then he took Prigozhin's place in Africa.
So.
I heard from history legend. So he visited Morocco like months ago. I think it's Morocco. Yeah. Then. Yeah, I think it's Morocco. Then after that, he told me that he saw like Russian convoy, like those Wagner type, mercenary type, but Russians. So I think it's Morocco or some North African countries, and then he's like,
he saw Prigozhin.
He's fascinated. Yeah,
I didn't say that. He just hinted that.
Did he say? I don't think so. No, but yeah,
you could put it out there.
Because everybody, all the guys was like, looking at his girlfriend, because history legend's girlfriend is very pretty. so as the convoy go past, everybody was like, probably whistling at her or something. So that was interesting.
The horrible patriarchy at it again. If you this doesn't happen in the UK. They have female police officers there who spend their tax dollars going on runs through the park in revealing clothing in order to honeypot men into leering at them and making and whistling at them so they can arrest them because it's illegal to do such things in the UK.
What was it? That little girl went to her house? Because some little girl, I guess, looked at a fucking tweet or something that was offensive. So these two cops show up to her house to take the phone. And the girl was like retarded too. It's like, fuck her up some more, she's already retarded. She probably doesn't even know she looked at something fucked up and you're gonna take her phone. Fucking dicks.
I think it's easy to misunderstand the British. When you're as close to perfection as that nation currently is, the little things that you have to improve to, a lot of people don't understand them.
Well, there's only one country in
this
world
better. They don't have tax dollars, Archimedes. They have pounds, for goodness sake.
Oh, tax pounds.
You're so American centric, man. It's like show some respect to Europe.
Look, dude, the dollar is a generic term, bro. You know what I mean? Like dollar means money. Think about it.
It's Spanish,
think about it. Well, yeah, exactly,
Dollary
bro.
do?
Exactly. It goes back to the Spanish dollar, right? The silver dollar. Yeah, the dollary do is that what you have in Australia? That's amazing.
No, that's the original in Castile.
The dollary do?
Yeah. Tell people.
I don't believe you. You're weaving it out of whole cloth.
No, it could
telling a tall
totally
tale.
be true.
The
It's really
dollary
hard
do.
to know how people used to pronounce old words.
That doesn't even sound Spanish.
Maybe we should ask Willie OAM. You would know.
We should ask Willie GPT, bro. They're gonna replace us all with AI. The Chat GPT, the great, powerful, and terrible, man. I was wondering. Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was gonna fly my drone today during the No Kings protest, but I went up on the roof to launch, and I kept hearing the telltale sounds of a drone, and I'm looking around, and I finally spotted the cop's big ass drone, basically flying exactly where I was gonna fly to go watch this shit. And so I was like, well, I guess I ain't going up. I don't know what kind it was. It was a quad, but it was pretty fucking nice. It looked like it probably had a nice camera and a thermal. And that motherfucker just sat there for like an hour and hovered and never moved, just watching this one area where they were protesting until they started moving, and then it moved. But there was a helicopter flying around too, so I was like, I guess I'm not flying today.
Yep.
But yeah.
Absolutely no violence from the lefties whatsoever. Absolutely no signs of life.
But, other than that, I don't think anything happened. Unless something happens tonight, but if it does, we'll hear about it in the morning. It won't matter.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen, dude. The left is so old, man.
I'm just saying there was some people mixed in, but it was from like 2 to 5, and like at 5:15, I mean, they were just streaming out of there back to their cars. All these old people with walkers and shit. There was even some fucking Stephen Hawking fuck with a No King sign in his mouth. It was fucking crazy. There was a guy that was holding a giant sign up saying he was a proud autistic.
Super chat by Tech. Europe deserves no respect.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the Streamyard now can do sound effects, so I can do
amazing.
So like when you see Ashton Cirilla, or no, Sarah Ashton, make the little boing noise for Wayne.
Boing.
Should we talk about Lambo while it's not here?
No.
How's he getting along? I haven't seen that.
SU-35, maybe he'll appear.
You should send your drone to take down the police drone, man. Let them train,
You know what?
Modern air-to-air drone combat.
It's funny you say that, because I actually thought, I could fly up there and knock him out. But then I was like, then I lose my drone, so no.
So what is the most effective?
I turn it on my remote control, and I'm like, what if I turn on my remote and I can start fucking with it because I'm right next to it, and they're off somewhere else? I would assume they have a closed connection to it since it's law enforcement. But I was like, nah, I'm not, because he was like hovering almost right above me, and I zoomed up, so I know he wasn't looking at me. But I was like, he might not be too cool if all of a sudden there's another drone up there. Hey, buddy, what's up? I'm your little brother. Get the fuck out of here. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be friendly because it's like kind of restricted airspace. So no.
Then you're gonna have police knock down your doors. No, they would like smash down your doors. Police.
Yeah, exactly. There'd be some guys fast roping.
Capture them. It would make sense to have like a way like to shoot a net at them to capture the police drones and then bring them home.
No, because they got a GPS tracker on them, so they'll find you.
What you should do, Vaughn, realistically, is strap a fishing rod to your drone and then dangle on the end of the fishing rod a donut, and then take your drone, fly it above the police drone, and dangle the fishing rod with the donut in front of the police drone.
That would be funny as hell. I wonder what they'd do. Maybe they'd let me go because it was so funny. That's the best.
Well, you'd have to give them the donut, you know, and maybe buy an
fly over there and drop it
and
off.
Then you'd be all right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll tell you what. Mess with that drone though. It's like that shit's crazy, and I mean, if you're trying to kill people with it and going on one-way trips, I mean.
I wonder how long.
Definitely the delivery system of the present and future.
Yeah, I wonder how long they're going to remain legal to own them.
Yeah.
Because they're basically like the handguns of the modern age.
It's kind of true. That's kind of a crazy way to look at it, but it's kind of true.
I mean, right now in the States, they're trying to scare a lot of people saying that DJI is going to get banned and all this shit. Which may or may they're going through some kind of audit, and I guess
that's just because they're Chinese, right? I mean, there's still going to be.
They're trying to time.
There's still going to be ways to get drones. Yeah, well, there's still going to be ways to get drones.
But there's just no good alternative, right? DJI is still the best drone.
Oh yeah, so. I mean, hands down, it's the fucking best. I mean, anybody that copies them, I mean, it's the same price pretty much. So you might as well just buy the DJI and get the guarantee and the name.
Yeah, but you will have copies, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
it's not like you're gonna. I mean, it's like with Russia and getting cut off from various Western suppliers. You know, you can get copies of these things. You can get substitutes. You know, you're gonna have some hidden quality, but you're not gonna lose the entire supply if there's a cutoff. You know.
Yeah, and like with this DJI thing, they're saying even if they end up banning them because of the Chinese thing, if you have them already, you can still use them. And if you think about how many drones from DJI are sitting in Amazon warehouses, even if they banned them tomorrow, you could probably still buy them for the next 3 years, grandfathered in.
I think it's going to be like the advent of the handgun. Like I was reading about the Italian king who was in power in World War II, Emmanuel. He ended up turning against Mussolini, and then the Germans moved in. But anyway, his father was assassinated in 1900, the same year that McKinley was. And they were both assassinated the same way, which is just some random. They call them anarchists now. Wikipedia has kind of whitewashed it. They used to be called communists or proto-communists because that's what those groups became. But now we're calling them anarchists. So the anarchists around that period between 1890 and 1900. Yeah, well, anarchists, because we don't want to offend anyone. They assassinated loads of leaders worldwide using handguns, and it was called propaganda by action. Right, and it was this idea that like you carried out your propaganda by doing these targeted assassinations, and it happened a lot, right? Like it really shaped the 20th century, and gun control. Like there had been no such thing because, like what are guns? A gun was like a musket weapon that an infantry soldier used in a field of battle, and it took a minute to load, trained and everything. And all of a sudden, these handguns came along, and they allowed this propaganda by action. And like I see that a parallel with the drone. As a delivery mechanism of ordnance in a civilian landscape, especially if we start having delivery drones and the rest of it, that's got a new world, and I think it's just begging for regulation. Like it's going to be regulated. I think within 10 years it'll be illegal to have one as a civilian.
Well, one thing I did figure out too, like from watching some of the videos from Ukraine, I've got a DJI RC with the built-in screen, and one of the videos I was watching, the guy had the exact same screen setup, and I figured out that like when I'm flying, I'm looking at I'm usually connected anywhere to 15 to 27 satellites for the GPS or whatever. Those guys are flying their drones free flight with no satellite connection. So that might be another reason why some of them seem wonky and stuff on the way in and stuff, because whereas I'm flying with 27 GPS satellites giving me exact position and all that shit, they're basically free flying these things kilometers and kilometers by sight to hit these targets.
Wow.
So that's pretty impressive, because I could fly mine if I wanted to, but there's no way in hell I'd trust myself to do that, because there's just too much lag in that to where if you were trained or experienced enough, you probably would lose lots of drones. Whereas these guys, you've also
got a crate full of them. You know what I mean? Which in that context, which you don't have. Right?
They're one way in it too, so they do have that. Whereas, like, I don't want to wreck my drone, so I'm not trying to do that. But if they're a little sloppy flying in, it don't matter as long as they hit the target. It's a one-way trip. But I was kind of impressed by that because he's talking about these guys free flying with no satellite GPS, potentially miles to hit targets just by sight through the FPV goggles and stuff. So I was like, damn. But my point was, it's kind of like guns, like me, I'm a legally registered gun. The guy flying with no satellites free is not. He's illegal. I mean, he kind of ties the same way you're talking about the new handgun. There's the legal guns and the illegal ones. There'll be the legal drones and the illegal ones. And I mean, when I was doing all my research, if you got a mechanical inclination, I guess, and a little electrical skill, you could buy all the kits you want and build Baba Yaga type drones or quadcopters or little DJI looking things, whatever you want. They got the arms, the blades, the rotors, the motors, whatever you want, they got it. So it's, you could pick. It didn't come with the motors or anything. It was just the frame and the basic body. But you can get a Baba Yaga kit for $339, and then you just put the motors and blades and your electronics on it. But so
the other part of the equation is networks. I think there's going to be like a big change in the way networks are distributed around the world in the next 10 years, just because in Australia now you have a government, an Anglo government, that's trying its very best to control the internet in all kinds of different ways. But at the same time, Elon Musk's Satlink is available for cheaper money. Yeah, right. Yeah. And so you can now, I've heard people discussing it even in my rural town. It's like, it's just economics. You can now get better performance from Starlink at a better price. And why does the government's taking steps to control the terrestrial network? There's going to be no economic incentive to use it anyway. And so how do governments stop, American freedom via the technocracy of Elon Musk and people like him who start distributing satellite networks? Because China can do the same thing eventually, right? Anyone who puts up like a free network is going to be competing with, client state governments like Australia for influence. Right? So I think, network access is going to be a big part of it.
Yeah, it's kind of incredible to imagine the possibilities of full satellite internet. It's one of those technologies which, we've had satellite internet for a long time for people in fucking boats, to send emails, right? But it's not been proper internet. Starlink has kind of changed that. It's actually kind of useful. Internet. There are other products. It's it's not. There's quite a few constellations actually, and there's plans for more. But the thing about it, right, is that the closer you get in your orbit to the Earth, the more satellites you need in order to cover the Earth, right? If you're way far out at geostationary or something, you can almost where GPS satellites are, they can more or less transmit data to 1/3 of the Earth or something like that, and so you technically don't need that many, maybe 6 or whatever. There's some geometry involved. But if the closer you get, the more satellites you need. Your costs of number of satellites that you need to go into space goes up exponentially. So launch cost becomes incredibly important if you want to have satellites that are close to Earth. And satellites being close to Earth is super fucking important because that is what gets you low ping, right? You can put 100,000 satellites. Ultimately you need low ping in order to. It's not just throughput, right? That defines the internet connection. It's also the latency, right? So, the new Starlinks are going to be going up. Starlink V3, they're going to be going up soon. They're much larger. They're going to be going up in a lower orbit as well. Each one is supposed to be able to transmit 1 terabyte per second, I believe, of capacity, and which, if you think about it, is enough for 1,000 gigabit connections, or let's say 100,000 10 Mbps connections, which is still it's decent enough for day-to-day use. And that's one satellite. 60 of these are supposed to go up on one Starship launch. If Starship works out. Now there was a Starship test just the other day that went very, very well. And if we see Starship flying in the next couple of years, what you're going to see is the first ever fully reusable orbital vehicle, right? Technically, the space shuttle wasn't fully reusable, and it was certainly not optimized anywhere near the level of Starship for reuse. So you could see full spectrum dominance by SpaceX in the entire field of launch, as well as the entire field of the internet. This is one of the most powerful business combinations you can have, is to be your own customer, is to have vertical integration, and for a launch company. Look, SpaceX already does more launches than the entire nation of China. They do more launches than the entire rest of the United States, including NASA and DoD, and including NASA launches for all the other launch providers, and DoD launches for all the other launch providers in the United States. SpaceX is the absolute majority, absolute king. And that's before they have this incredibly ambitious, reusable rocket, which really theoretically could work. It's going to give Elon Musk specifically full spectrum dominance over the satellite internet, the best satellite internet available.
Yeah, but Archimedes, what's giving him dominance here is a lack of competition. Warren Buffett always says that, the best kind of competition to have is none. Warren Buffett really likes buying technology that is like really innovative, which means no one else is doing it, because you have a very easy time at the market. And it's a pity Drew's not here and all these cheerleaders for the CCCP, because where is their Elon Musk? Where is their satellite distribution network? Where is their reusable rocket program? Because I totally agree with you, Archimedes. I think this is the biggest thing on the geopolitical radar, just because internet dominance and being able to project, for want of a better word, free networks. Let's just call them American. Someone can have an eagle screeching right now. But if Elon is pushing X and everything else, and Trump and the new Trump politics into the world, and there's just no way to stop it, right? This is what's so interesting about it. It's like the radio. You can't actually stop people getting their internet from the satellite. And at that point, a lot of really questionable
you physically
people.
can't. That's the thing. You physically can't, right? All you need is a satellite receiver. Physical control of that is very, very hard. Yeah, the way you can with terrestrial internet.
To me, to me, if you're going to talk about bricks, and I know some people are going to talk about bricks, and we have to put up with it, but I'm show me your Elon. Where can I get bricks TV? Show me your bricks internet connection. It better be $20.
There could
be come with a drink holder, because otherwise I'm going with Elon.
Well, you can imagine a world where the Chinese just launch 20 times more rockets, in order to put up a constellation. It's hypothetically possible. But it's a little bit hard to imagine. I mean, launch is fucking difficult. It's very expensive.
Wouldn't someone steal the rocket?
What do you mean steal the rocket? I mean?
Well, you've seen communist countries. It's like something would go wrong.
China does do a lot of launches. Okay, I don't think that it's worth doing the sort of caricature of it's just it's never gonna. China's just not going to be able to successfully do anything because of communism or whatever. Clearly, that's not the case. They've been very.
Do you guys see the
news? Where's the European one?
For the China one.
The Europeans do have a GPS system, by the way. They put their own GPS system up. The Chinese have their own GPS system. I mean, that's a lot less of an ask than an satellite internet constellation. And the reason I mentioned the distance that you need to put it in is because it takes so many more launches in order to get that lower ping. There's going to be this enormous competitive advantage of low latency internet. Although I suppose I don't know how much of an advantage that really is. So in terms of competition, there is going to be competition for Starlink eventually. I think the Chinese are certainly going to do their best to put up a constellation.
I don't see it is the thing, and I find that interesting.
You don't see them putting up a constellation?
I've gone down the GPS rabbit hole. I know a little bit about the different space agencies of the different regions of the world. And the thing about Starlink and Elon Musk is they didn't ask permission. They didn't wait for government to come along with a program. they were doing stuff because they wanted to do it and they thought they could make money doing it, and they saw a huge amount of money on the Pentagon table and they went for it and they got it too.
Yeah,
now,
and
this is the thing. This is the thing about Europe, right? Europe has got 1 million projects, all sponsored by the EU and the taxpayer, but they're private because they're owned by aristocrats. There's not the same thing. There's no Elon Musk in Europe who's got a product that he's developing anyway because he's going to make a lot of money. And the reason is because the European economy, it's all spoken for. It's like you have to be a viceroy or a duke. So this is why, and in communist societies as well, not to make too light of it, but communist society is very centralized. They're very planned. The economy is very planned out. Likewise, you have no room for some freak like Musk taking ketamine and inventing shit. So that's where I see, America is once again moving forward because of the power of its marketplace rather than the power of its politics or intellect, which has been, to me, the story of...
Could it be too, though? I mean, if you think about it, in China and Russia, you probably would go to prison for a long time if you took ketamine and worked for Roscosmos or something like that. I'm just saying, I mean,
if you're a bad viceroy,
not that the drugs make them the genius they are. I'm just saying, I mean, I don't know if those two countries would, if the culture's there to allow that kind of person to exist, that free thinking and freewheeling.
Maybe China will inject Jack Ma full of ketamine to see what happens.
Elon Ma.
They already got their own John Cena. Xena.
I do.
Oh,
yeah, you know that dumbass wrestler John Cena. He apologized for calling Taiwan a country, and now they call him. They call him John. Yeah, they call him John Cena with an S.
He did that famous fucking video, man, where he was promoting his new movie in China, and he basically said, he was holding this ice cream cone, and he said in Chinese, like, "Oh, I really like ice cream, but you know what I like better than ice cream is watching this new movie that's coming out." Anyway, it became a meme, and ice cream sounds like Bing Chilling. Yeah.
Bing Chilling is ice cream.
John Cena, and you've got have you guys seen that guy that does the Donald Trump impersonations? The Chinese guy goes around to these Chinese places, and he's fantastic.
His impression is really good.
Yeah,
the best ever.
Oh, look at these!
But he really sounds like Donald Trump. Oh my god!
He's got a good one.
You see the one where he was at some golden Chinese temple, and he's like, "They have a golden house. We need to replace the old White House with a golden house." And even that one jackass that does the commercials for the lighted signs, he does a good Trump every now and then.
Oh yeah,
that
guy's funny.
I love those because it's like, my pronouns are, blah, blah, blah. He's like, fuck off. Now, if you want a good sign.
Viral marketing, man. It really works, actually. It's kind of sad, but again, this is another element of the market. I mean, what is this market really taking us to? Toby, I kind of have this Landian fear of the future of the capitalist system. Like, we're going towards this, this AI capitalism, where it's just dominating our fucking brains, dominating the airwaves, dominating everything. We our thinking and our feelings. I mean,
but you're getting excited and using the word "we" a lot. But what you're talking about, again, this is the Wayne thing, the fall of man, the destruction of the individual due to depredations and all kinds of sin, and that's going to happen. It's like there's so many wicked folk out there in Kentucky and in Singapore and in other places. They are going to do diabolical shit, and they're going to get their just rewards for it. And the digital world is not any protection against that. I don't think America is a system as such. It's almost like the power that arises because of a lack of a system. I mean, this is the thing about markets, right? Like, markets exist even in no man's land. Yeah, markets is just people trading, and they'll do that even when they're at war. And so markets is the default state of the environment when you don't have some academic or a duke or a viceroy even, right? Like making a system and trying to enforce it. And I think that you're always going to have a bit of that natural world, that black market in the background, even if you do have a really competent viceroy. But I think America is such an interesting place because the people that settled it understood how well they were doing with basic freedoms and without an overriding system, and then tried to enshrine that, tried to almost have a system of no system. And so that the market can breathe. Because this is the interesting thing about the market, right? Like no one sees it coming. No one saw the iPhone coming. People thought Steve Jobs was a douche, and possibly he was, right? But he had a vision for seeking out what the market wanted. Elon's got the same kind of thing. Plus, they're just curious people. But it's a very chaotic thing. You don't know where they're going to come from. You get really unlikely individuals making a big impact. And I think it's really outside of academic control, and the viceroys don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it's interesting.
I think it's also fair to say that the story of wealth inequality in America is very real, but I think that people are very Marvel superhero brained, and they think of it in terms of billionaires and the uber ultra billionaires as the problem. But if you look at wealth inequality, it is truly a massive issue, right, on any objective metric. But if you take the wealth of all the billionaires in the United States, it's really not that much. Okay, really, you got to look at everybody that at the decamillionaires, at the hectamillionaires, right? That's where you get huge amounts.
I have issues with this happy term wealth inequality, because like you've got to have a full stomach to worry about wealth inequality, right?
Yeah, no, I get that, but it's also
they're starving. There's there's empty shelves and shit.
I'm good.
Yeah, and then there's living in a very plentiful, just society where you don't have to fight for your life and for every scrap of food.
But you see, when you have a situation where the overall pie is getting smaller, which is what is happening due to various really bad trends that have been happening, including demographic and others. And just general world sort of regression in the world economy that seems inevitable. As the pie gets smaller, what you're seeing is society dividing more and more into the haves and the have-nots. And people's lives are getting worse. Like the real income, the real quality of life that people have in the United States is lower now than it was before, right? Especially when it comes to having being able to afford houses. What percentage of people are able to, or have people have more stuff than house. This is a really systematic economic problem. And we can get into it more. This, I'll just say, is one of the reasons I'm so happy about Trump, is because with this tariff thing, he's bringing in a real spanner in the works of this system, which is systematically impoverishing Americans, and probably 60, 70, 80% of Americans for the benefit of the 20%. And I'll say I don't think that my analysis of this is coming from pure resentment. I think I'd be in that 20%. But it is a bad system, man. People are really not able to pay rent. Rents are fucking crazy, right? And that's not an accident. It's not an accident that the gold is as high as it is. That the currency has been so debased that the equity markets are going up so much. And yet wages.
Archimedes, I have a question for you. Right? Is it a bad system or is it a system? Is it the system? Because this is my point about the free market and the chaotic nature of uncontrolled America that's actually out of control. So. People like Donald Trump are just like riding a worm. I think if you believe there's such a thing as a good system like Singapore, where everything is controlled by the secret police and it all works out and everyone's really happy, then that's you believe in then a good system. Or if you're like Drew and you believe the CCCP is like the thing, right? Then you believe in a good system. Or if you're like Archimedes and you chase this mythical good system, then I understand why you would say the term bad system. But from my perspective, when I have a look at there's the uncontrolled world, there's the chaos that is most free in America, and then there's various other variations of centralized planned economies. You can have privately owned ones like in Europe, or you can have state-owned ones like in China and Vietnam, or you can have something in between. But a planned economy is a planned economy. And there's a lack of personal freedoms in there because that's how you get that, right? And they all seem to have the same thing. They all seem to have wealth inequality outcomes. They all seem to have poverty, right? Because the politics of the people is able to use these mechanisms, these systems, to create hierarchies, which is what people do, right? They do it at high school. And so this is the danger of having a system, is that people will actually use it and they will oppress one another because that's what makes them feel better. It's like, Orwell said, the guy in the union will enforce the class system because it gives him somewhere where he knows who he is. So I think that this is why the chaos of America is such a hard thing to embrace, because it's a little bit fucking terrifying. There is no system. There are no wise folk in control of the libs. You just don't have any viceroys.
I mean, I guess it's true to some extent still, but this is such a Jeffersonian, reading of what America is, and it kind of still is that. To be fair, it is. But you got to also look at least what has happened since Roosevelt and the New Deal, and the expansion of the government during World War II and the creation of all these independent agencies. It was a real large scale transformation of the government. I mean, then we had large scale public works in the 50s, right? Like the highway system and the and so on. I don't have to list it all. I mean, the government has expanded large and has become quite large, actually, in the United States. And this is a real thing. And like you said, people use this system to create hierarchies in themselves. It doesn't make poverty go away. I mean, how much money has gone into the pockets of urbanite, middle-aged women who work on the boards of homeless programs instead of going into actually solving homelessness, right? In California, for example, right? And I'll give you a statistic. I believe I think something like 6 of the top 10 wealthiest counties in the United States are in the or possibly zip codes. 6 of the top 10, wealthiest zip codes in the United States are in the or highest income anyway, are in the DC metro area, right? In the Washington DC metro area, because this is where you have. Now it must be counties actually that I saw the statistic. It wouldn't make sense as zip codes. Regardless, the point is that DC is a huge fountain of money, springing out of the swamp, and it's especially I think with with of course with the management of our central bank, the Federal Reserve. I mean, the money tap, is not necessarily a bad thing to have a central bank, but the question is, who is politicking to get themselves closest to the money tap of the central bank, and to get themselves preferential treatment.
Yeah, but there's a hard logic there. Archimedes, there's a hard logic there, which is that if you're talking about a competition between man-made systems of planned economies and just the wild wilderness of the free market, right? If those are the two forces in the world, fiat money and debt inevitably favors the planned economists, right? Because in the real world, they haven't got any money. They're like Marx, right? And so in the real world, absent debt and easy fiat money, the people who actually have money, who actually take notice of the free market, tend to dominate. But as soon as you've got funny money floating around, as soon as you can just create it out of thin air, so long as you're the government, well, then guess who's going to have most of it? The government. And so then your Marxists and the rest of it can start putting their planned economy into effect, and your viceroys too, for that matter. And so I think that's why central banking, in the end, it inevitably brings you more viceroys because it gives them power. Because that's what central banking is, right? It's essentially taxation. You transfer wealth from people who have it through inflation to people who don't have it anymore, your viceroys and your communists and so on. So I think
you could say taxation is a form of central banking, actually, right?
Yeah, this is one of the strong arguments in favor of a gold-based currency. It's not that gold's intrinsically worth anything or good, but because it's limited, right? It means that you limit the size of planned economies. You limit.
But Toby, you're mixing up the planned economy, the central banking, and the gold-based currency, right? I mean, the Federal Reserve came to be in 1913, right? The United States. You had the planned economy, which really started. You have the Roosevelt Revolution, in the 40s. And you don't get off the gold standard until 71, right? I mean, we're still on the gold standard. And when I say still on the gold standard, that's a bit misleading because the gold standard itself was an innovation, right? I mean, the gold standard is something that replaced, the short-lived system of the greenbacks, if I remember correctly, in the post-Civil War area, where you did have funny money, as you put it. So I don't know. I tend to think that the mechanism of the money is not so important. Whether whatever it is, whether it's gold or whether it's fiat or anything. The money, it matters because it lets people, politic and get closer to the bankers who live lavish lives and so on. But ultimately, it's not really the primary thing. I think it's much more important what the culture of the people are, what the geographic and technological conditions are, and what technologies are prevalent in that society, right? I think that's much more important than looking at money.
With all due respect, you know enough market theory to know if I can just create $100 million and just buy all the equipment and hire all the people I need to go into business, and I can also bribe politicians to be given like half your licenses. I can go and I can undercut you. I can put you out of business, buy everything you've got in a fire sale, right? A planned economy with a lot of fiat credit will eradicate a free market economy, right? Because a free market economy is on razor-thin margins all the time, and it has no granddaddy to bail it out. All you've got to undo is undercut it by 3 to 5% generally, and you'll destroy it. That capital will move out, and then you can move in. So that the idea that fiat money and that easy credit in the hand of viceroys doesn't massively affect a community is, in my view, that's completely wrong. And it's
well,
like,
why did
that.
So what? This only started in 71,
No, it's been going on since there's been people. Like, this is before coinage or even money. This happened in the world of credit. Viceroys manipulating credit in order to create hierarchies is arguably what people do, right? The exceptional thing is what the American founders did, where they said, you know what? This is what people do, and we're going to limit it in the name of Jesus Christ because we want to live as free Christians instead of under the tyranny of a system, of a viceroy. Right, that was kind of the whole point of America. I don't know. To me, having easy credit and fantasy money, that is the opposite of the one thing. That only leads to one outcome, and it leads to viceroys, Archimedes.
I just struggle to see that that's, given the dates at which we established the Federal Reserve and we went off the gold standard, it just doesn't add up to me as being the primary causal factors of our current degradation.
You're a bad American.
I think there's other more important factors, man. That's all. It's not just about money. I'm just saying, man. I think money's overrated. Just look, give it all to me. I'll take care of it. I'll take good care of it. Don't worry. But that's all that money creation is, isn't it, Toby? If you're lending, it's simply lending, isn't it? Fractional reserve banking. I mean, as soon as you have that, you're creating money, right? Every bank creates money. I mean, all that a banknote is, all that a dollar you do is simply a little banknote with some fucking bank. Either
this is really easy to understand. This is really easy to understand for the two people listening. But this is how I think about it, right? Imagine you have $10, right? And as the banker, you own 9 of them and everyone else has 1. And then you get up to shenanigans, you go out to drink, you do this, you invest in a solar farm. A whole bunch of shit happens, right? Time passes, and now you're the banker and you've only got $1 left because of you're incompetent. And all the other folks around you have now got the other $9, right? And so now you only own 1% of all the money in the society, whereas previously you owned 90% and you were like the viceroy. And now you're just some schmo named Archimedes or something. So what I'm saying is, if I can create money, I can just go create another $10 dues, give them to myself, and now I own 52% or more, like 55 or whatever it is, right, of the money supply. If I go create 100 units of currency, right, I now own 91 out of 100. I'm back to my 90% cool viceroy position. How? I inflated the money supply and thereby devalued all of the other money that was out there working in the economy and transferred that value to the holder of the new money supply. That's as simple as it is. If I can control that, I don't care what happens to the money, right? Because I can always come along and put myself back in the viceroy position because I control the inflation of the money supply. And so that's the essential geopolitics of having fiat currency and having central banks. It gives unshakable power to those who control the money supply.
Right.
And it's it's arguably not a bad thing, because in the old days when you had war chest economies and people were fighting over gold, you had like perpetual warfare. Whereas when you have this artificial power mechanism through money supply, states actually can be at peace for reasonably long periods of time.
Well, and that's why I said that's why I mentioned that 6 of the 10 richest counties in America are in the DC metros. Because those are the people that are close to the money supply, right? And not just that they're getting paid because they're cushy government jobs. That's also a part of it, but also because those are the people that have the connections that can that can that know what's going to happen with the Federal Reserve. Yeah. Look, I ain't no fortunate son, right?
I ain't no Viceroy's nephew.
Hey, me, I know Viceroy's son.
I wouldn't be surprised if Vaughan had some Bavarian Viceroys in his heritage.
Absolutely. Vaughan's got some Kentuckian Viceroys in his future, bro, in his descendants.
Who will be the Viceroy of the Ohio River?
Of New Ohio.
What do they call it? Nouveau Ohio.
How about Neo Ohio?
That's
you
better.
Like that double? You like that double syllable in the middle? Neo Ohio.
It sounds more American, Neo Ohio, than Nouveau.
Neo Ohio.
Are there hills there?
Huh?
In Ohio, yeah, Southern Ohio.
No, in New Ohio. Is that like where the
New Ohio? No. We're gonna flatten out all the hills with bulldozers and AI.
Yeah. It'll look like the Ozarks instead flat.
Man, I can't believe we've been talking about fucking, about currency and all this, and we haven't had Yura join. We haven't had fucking Craig join. Man. Oh, Yura's sleeping.
Craig is actually in the live chat, but
I know.
Is sleeping.
Craig's got a fucking crazy theory, which I think was tailor-made in the fucking lab to piss off Toby for the last 2 weeks. That's all he's been doing. He says that America was founded on 3 obsolete technologies. Carnism, that is eating meat, combustion, right, the internal combustion engine, and currency. You might agree with the currency part. But I mean, what a theory, I mean, what a world. Let's just
that just sounds like words falling out of some dude to me. Like, I wouldn't get too excited about that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, unless Craig want to entertain us by coming on.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'd like to see the sparks fly.
Well, no man is free of his sin.
Von, what is the eye patch? Is this decoration or something happened to your eyes?
Oh, something happened to my eye.
So must be the drone, right? The drone cut you.
No. I fucked up my eye, so I didn't want to wear sunglasses, so I went to the Halloween store and got an eye patch. My wife and kids think I look ridiculous, but I told them it's better than wearing sunglasses at night.
If you have to get a glass eye,
you look super cool.
You should get like a really.
I wore it because I was at work at the gas station, so I didn't really want to wear sunglasses all night. So I just put on. I figured people at the store would be like, "Oh, it's close to Halloween. He must be wearing a costume." Or, one lady's like, "Oh, is that eye patch? My husband had eye surgery and he wears an eye patch." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, thanks." But, yeah, I mean. I fucked up my eyes, so I just figured I was not freaking anybody out.
Do you see just now the game that I show you? Let me show you again. Because you look totally like this guy right now, Solid Snake.
Yeah, Snake.
I'm not sure. Do you know him? You look exactly like him right now. So you're muted. You're muted.
I was gonna get something, but I was like, no, never mind.
Hey, Vaughn, Halloween's coming up, man. You gotta dress up as Snake, bro.
I'm going to New York with some bricks.
Snake
with some bricks.
I'm building a wall.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna have to call it a day. I'm going to clean up because it's my Sunday.
Okay.
Good to see you all. I enjoyed the smaller
Yeah,
format without all the Euro trash and the
Euro trash.
No, well, you know how you know what they like, our comedians, the way they talk.
I don't even want to think about it.
It's just it's not what you need, because in the Pacific region, I feel like we're all moving forward. America, Singapore, Australia.
Well, you know, the Atlantic Ocean has a ridge inside of it, and it's expanding, and the Pacific is kind of collapsing and becoming smaller and smaller. So one of these days, you know, the Australians and Americans will be neighbors. Yeah, much closer. We're moving away from Europe actively, going west onwards.
Of course, I mean, look at it. But we'll take care. And great to see the civilized
long time no see, right, Toby?
Yeah. I've been working. So
this for you, this timing is for you.
I'm very grateful. And also, congratulations on 100,000, and then commiserations on being struck off on account of Vaughan's shenanigans. That's all right. He didn't mean it.
It was bound to happen. I think once you get into YouTube Shorts, they're going to kill you on something or other.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're just taking your money.
I mean, it's just kind of weird, though. I mean, the way it goes, because you look at like all the stuff that's popping up on Facebook now and YouTube and the shorts, like with Fuentes or other things of that flavor. And
YouTube stepping
Facebook
back
is like, I've never seen so much racist shit fly back and forth on YouTube or Facebook. But and then but oh no, that logo is bad, but this is okay or that's okay. I mean, I get what you say though. It's like you can't figure out the algorithm. You might as well just pull your hair out, try to figure out.
You don't understand. Mark Zuckerberg went to the gym.
Yeah,
that changes everything. Because he went to the gym.
Well, look, it's a new start.
Testosterone changed him.
It's a new start for OM, right? Might as well be optimistic. It's kind of like the old days, actually, like the early OM days with fewer people. I don't know.
Yeah,
I actually wanted to hear Vaughan tell me about Fuentes.
Why is Nick Fuentes so prominent?
I don't know, right? It's a thing though, and Vaughan knows all about it.
I mean, I'm going to sign out, but I'm going to keep listening. I like what he says because he's right about a lot of things, but that's just like anybody else that's halfway smart. They can state right policies and good policies. I just enjoy his presentation and the way. I just think he's going to make this next election cycle really fucking exciting because he's really putting the fucking fire to people. He's getting other people in there. And whether it goes anywhere or not, it's just going to be entertaining to watch him and Tucker and Candace and all them try to go at each other and try to defend politicians and shitty policies. And, I mean, he's a consistent dude, so I'll give him that. I mean, he's consistent. He's not – bouncing around like a lot of these people. Like, when he calls out Tucker Carlson, I mean, he's got the receipts on Tucker. He's got the receipts on Candace Owens. I mean, it's not like he's got devastating stuff, but, he can make his points and, make his case about why he's a more legitimate representation of young, disaffected men than any of those people ever could hope to be.
Fuentes' success is a symptom of a larger shift in the right, which is that the right has, for a long time, it actively had as its first priority distancing itself from its extremists or its activists, and always trying to present itself as basically the left, but 20 years later, right? At least on cultural issues, right? Now, and that's how it's been for quite a long time. But whereas on the left, they have actually, supported some of their. Well, they have a different method of dealing with their activists in the left. That's another story. But on the right, that's changed. That the right has started to shift its focus away from prioritizing distancing itself from its extremists, saying, "Oh, I don't want to be like that guy. He's too far right," as the first priority of being on the right. And rather, that's a second, a third, a fourth priority. The first priority is actually, attacking those who are to the left of you. That's a general shift that I've observed. In terms of the willingness of people to do that.
Like all those people I mentioned, they're all good people to one degree or another. They all support some good policies. I don't agree with everything, but it is good to have all these people fight out and flesh these ideas out and get some get some things figured out, because
bring it into the open window, right?
Yeah, Israel's gonna be a big thing. A lot of the wars, the foreign policy, a lot of other stuff, and he's bringing it up. Other people are bringing it up, and and they're calling out, people like Candace Owens and Matt Walsh and stuff who claim to be, for the everyman and down with the struggle. And he's like, well, then why aren't you down here? So I mean, it just makes it interesting. He's gonna throw a lot of gas on the fire, and these people are gonna have to defend their position. So it should be interesting in that case, and it might actually have some effect on the election. Maybe we'll get some more Thomas Massey's in or some Rand Pauls, but I'm just looking forward to the debate and the fight.
Oh yeah.
Glenn told me to put this on for Vaughn, Dr. Hook. He said because of the eye patch guy. I have no idea who is he, man. I'm not old enough to know who is this person.
I think it's some hippie band that died in a plane crash in the '60s. I know that's not true, but I'm just being mean to Glenn.
Or they're like the Prigozhins. They died in a plane crash.
They all look like hooky.
They were the Prigozhins. They'll fall 500 miles.
Yeah, well,
I found it interesting listening to you guys talk about Fuentes, because I don't know enough about the guy to have an opinion. He seems like pretty weird to me, but what do I know?
He's super weird, man. He's like a weird guy. I saw him go on the Team Cast.
He's the weird gay kid that lives in his mom's basement.
Yeah, I heard Tucker say that, and I'm like,
aren't we all though?
I can see where you're coming. That might be harsh, unfair. I don't know the guy, but I definitely see where Tucker's coming from there. But the thing is, and this is, tying back to what we were saying before, China hasn't got an Elon Musk because you can't just make one of those. South Africa doesn't have one either because he left to go and live in America, which is what happens to the Elon Musks of this world, right? And at the same time, China doesn't have a Nick Fuentes, right? Because you can't be that weird and thrive. You need a free market of ideas. You need people like Vaughn just being entertained with a Budweiser and a hot dog saying, yeah, this guy's a bit of a nutter, but he's fun, right?
His name would be
let's hear what he's got to say.
Something.
But here's the thing, Vaughn wins the information contest because he's willing to accept new things. He's willing to hear dudes, even though they are a bit weird, That, it's not that Nick Fuentes contains the seeds of wisdom or anything else, but only in an environment when you get these unpredictable people like Elon, Nick Fuentes, Tim Pool, Tucker, when you get these weird people saying things, out of that can come ideas that are progressive, genuinely progressive, technologically progressive, socially progressive. And again, in a controlled society where you have most of the population trying to regulate the speech and saying that's bad manners and this is naughty and this is whatever, that's anti-Semitism, whatever it is, you stifle the innovation in ideas. I find Fuentes interesting like that. I don't think Fuentes is wise, but he's a symbol of a healthy debate.
Yeah, you're right. Because China, from my observation, is that as long as you become too outstanding, you're going to get shut down. Like, a Nick Fuentes, in their Chinese social media, is going to get his account terminated. Once you get a bit prominent and popular, you're going to get shut down. Then if you're going to become like an Elon Musk, your company is going to be absorbed by the Communist Party. They're going to disappear you for a few months and then convince you that you should give up 80% of your stake to the Communist Party. So they'll put unnamed people on your board, and then you just lose everything. That's what happened to Jack Ma. So but that's China. And there's a big news this past few days from China. They just purged their top military people again. Like, I think nine top generals got removed. One of them is a very prominent guy. I think it's the number 2 or number 3 in the military. So allegedly,
what they get? Oh, corruption. The other thing with China too is they've been showing a lot of footage of them launching their J-35 or Y-35, whatever it is, off of the that new carrier with the electromagnetic catapults.
Yeah, J-30.
So they've been
FC-35.
Yeah,
FC-35.
Yeah. They
they don't even try to hide, where they get the design from.
Oh, I know. But I mean, the funny thing is they had some Navy guys looking at it, and they actually liked the plane because they had 2 engines. They were like, "Is that a heads-up display?" That's so 1980s, but they still liked the twin engine. They thought it was a nice-looking plane, and they said,
I respect it.
But they were talking about
they changed the name. They don't care. They're just like, does it work?
They don't even bother, right? It looks almost exactly the same, just a different engine. They just like keep the number 35, just keep it there. But it's like a F-35, but a practical version. It's like simpler engines. Like bigger, can carry more stuff. Simpler. Don't think too much. F-35 is like over-engineered. Like the FC-35 is like simple, and it works.
But yeah, they were showing those videos, and it was pretty. It looked like they were doing a pretty good job of just landing and taking off. I mean, I don't know where they were. I guess somewhere in the South China Sea, but
they only have South China Sea.
and I guess there's a story there out there. There's a extradition hearing for a Australian guy who apparently sometime in the past was in South Africa training pilots, and they're accusing him of training Chinese pilots in like carrier operations, basically. And then supposedly he traveled to China and did some training there. But he's an Australian citizen. He's a former American, but he renounced his citizenship and became an Australian citizen, and then went to South Africa and did this training and stuff. So it's kind of hokey and bullshitty that the United States is trying to extradite him back when he's, as far as it looks like, they're like, well, he's not an American citizen, so he's not liable for these crimes. But they're going to try and do it anyway. Australia will probably go along with it.
I read into this. It's pretty full on. It's like he didn't just like walk along one day and fall over a Chinese pilot program. It's like this was being planned a long time ago. And the thing is, it seems that the Chinese approached him when he was an American serviceman, right? And that was why he went to Australia. He was basically being groomed the whole way along. The decision to actually betray America and to sell out their secrets did happen. As I understand, I could be wrong, happened when he was actually an American serviceman, which gives the military law jurisdiction because there's no statute of limitations on selling out your country and the Navy to the enemy. That's going to follow you for forever. And I think that's the Australian government's position as well, as because they looked at it.
So basically, he was trying to get away from it by like technicalities, by renouncing his citizenship, going to Australia.
Yeah, he wanted the money. He didn't want the heat. So
I see they didn't mention that. They made it sound like he left the service, and got into that.
No, it's not like he was a happy Australian farmer who then saw an opportunity to teach someone aircraft carrier skills in South Africa, and he didn't even know they were Chinese. No, it was nothing like that. It was a long program to get the information. And the thing is, it's actually pretty serious. It's like knowing how your carrier group's operations are in an up-to-date way, that's a pretty serious piece of knowledge. So like it's not some political frame-up job. So yeah, I don't know. I would have thought that like we should, as Australians, we should stay well out of that and understand the American perspective. Because if they don't protect their naval intelligence, it'll just get worse.
Have you seen the carrier operation on a Chinese carrier? If you just make your eyes smaller and blur out everything, you think that it's an American carrier because all the processors, the shirt colors, everything is the same as the American carrier. It's insane. It's like they don't even try to hide it. Like I said, they don't try to hide it at all. I think
it's an exact copy of the Kitty Hawk class. It's just a little bit smaller than the Nimitz, or maybe it's actually the size of the original Nimitz, but I think it's a Kitty Hawk size carrier. So it's a Vietnam era size carrier. So it's gonna, I mean, that was throwing A4s and F4s and all that off the deck. So, those Chinese jets are going to be. I think they said that
the ship is one thing,
aircraft too.
But design of the ship is one thing. It's the way how they operate. You know, the crews around, how they prepare the takeoff. You know, the hand signals, like how they go down to like you can now take off. It's exactly the same as the American one.
Just wait till they come out with the Chinese version of Top Gun.
Do they do the dances and shit as well, where they're like,
oh yeah,
same.
grab ass and yeah.
Do they have the colored coordinated guys like the purple vest, orange vest, green, red?
Yeah, exactly the same. If I'm not wrong, it's exactly the same.
I mean, and think about it. Why reinvent the wheel when you can just copy what everybody else has been doing for 100 years?
Yeah, again, respect. If that's no easy thing to do, even to copy. So I have full respect for the Chinese Navy actually getting out of bed and getting that done. I mean, like no one else has. What the Soviets had like one aircraft carrier or maybe two. So like, yeah, it's no easy thing. Just copying aircraft carrier operations and doing it and getting the planes up and down. It's big respect that they're able to do it at all.
I wonder why they don't copy it from the British.
Because they need a ship that works and like more than 3 planes working at a time.
They fear the gay.
I just noticed on Instagram was very cool. You know, there's this ship spotting guy, in Singapore. And he's like tracking all the Navy ships, and he just took I think yesterday or the day before, he took a photo of the Nimitz class, sailing past the Singapore streets. It's insane, man. Then every time there's a carrier go past, or warship, you'll be like taking photos, like long range photos. It's like, that's crazy. I've never seen the aircraft carrier sailing past my coast with my own eyes.
Really?
It's huge. The freaking aircraft carrier is huge. It's insane. It's like it's fucking massive. I seen once, but it's parked, but it's fucking big. You can't imagine how big the fucking ship is, until you actually see it.
500,000 horsepower.
Yeah,
and 2 engines.
Where do they keep all the horses?
Exactly. Well, they're nuclear horses, so they're in and out of the quantum realm. That's science.
They are all mutant horses, all mutant. They're all like affected. They're all like hawks, affected by nuclear radiation.
Yeah, I think the future is drone carriers. People are saying in the chat, it's true. I think the U.S. is getting on the drone. Is moving the fighter program into a drone focused direction. Which is nice to see that that's happening. Although I wish it happened a bit more quickly.
Ukraine want to sell drones to United States, in exchange for Tomahawk.
Well, I'm talking about that.
And Trump look at Vance and was like, they are both smirking.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about that new Lockheed Martin
the wingman one, right?
Press release, yeah, where they're talking about the wingman concept.
Is that the Australian built one?
Australian built? Well, I hope not.
But I think I think this wingman idea, if the Americans go pursue it, it's going to be very powerful. Like, one pilot, you're gonna have like 5 times the firepower. It's insane, It's and the surface to air missiles and also the the enemy jets, they will not be able to target the real pilot jet. It's not so easy because on the radar it's all just going to be beeps, and then it's like, then you're gonna have like hundreds of jets all flying at the same time, but actually only like a 20% of them is actually piloted. It's insane.
There's a Boeing wingman project called Ghostbat. It's the MQ-28 Archimedes. So that's been going on for a while.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah,
okay.
The Ghostbat one's pretty interesting because it's not just like DJI size small drones. It's actually like large. They're designed to sort of like be wingmen for F-35s.
Right.
This program is getting a lot of attention. The Russian, the SU-30, the 57, the SU-57 has got one of these sort of like wingman drones as well. And the thing about them is they're big. And the Ghostbat, you can basically take the nose off and put a different nose on. And depending on what nose you put on these things, and because they're quite big, they can carry quite a lot. You can have an E-War wingman, or you can have like an ordnance E-man that's just carrying a shit ton of ordnance to go drop on something. You can have like comms wingman providing network comms to an area of the battlefield. And so you can swap out the noses depending on the mission. And this seems to be like the future of Western drone warfare, is that you're going to have a basic platform that can move the ordnance or the E-war asset into theater. So it's got to be quite big, right, to carry the fuel.
Well, they've got some. I can't remember the number of it, but there's another drone. It's like the Loyal Wingman. It's a bigger drone that carries, multiple AMRAAMs that would fly in conjunction with like F-22s, and then actually move out in front of the group and engage first, and then the F-22s would ideally just mop up survive the drone attack. But I mean, I don't know where they're at on those. But I mean, they've already got UCAVs that are pretty good size, so it's probably not much more to put a bay on it and load it up with missiles and a radar and a targeting system.
I read a paper that talked about having, bringing back the blimps, because the idea is because you need so many of these things and they're pretty heavy. The idea was, we'll have a blimp like 600 or 800 kilometers away from the theater, still within striking range, and it can just release these things high into the atmosphere, and they can glide towards their target, get a lot more distance, and also it becomes like it's this idea of a drone aircraft carrier, but it's basically using the weightless gas in order to stay afloat so that it's not spending energy. But other people have said, no, that's nonsense. It would be too easy to take it out. What you want is to have like catapult systems on the ground. So a bit like the electromagnetic catapult on the carrier, but like a ground-based one that just flings your drones up in like throwing a stone in an arc. And if it's aerodynamic enough, it won't need to take over its own flight until it's gliding down from like a large altitude. So it seems like, one of those two ideas is on the cards in terms of having an aircraft carrier for the sky. It's like, how do we deploy hundreds of these wingman drones into theater around the clock, sorties around the clock?
I mean, if they were small enough, I guess you could put pods on like B-52s or something and drop them out of the bays or off the pylons. But if they're bigger, but then even then, if they were bigger, you could still probably carry like on a B-52, maybe 4 to 6 large aircraft that would drop off and deploy wings and then maybe take off on their own, something like that. But depending on the size, I mean, they could probably do all kinds. I mean, the B-2s could carry them. It would probably be stupid to send a B-2 to drop drones, but, if you had to go somewhere really, really secret, maybe it'd be worth it. But B-52 could probably carry a few packs of them on the wings and in the bay and, 500 miles out, drop the drones and turn around and go home.
There's not that much difference between one of these wingman drones and a cruise missile.
But the holding power is different. I think if you're able to loiter around and pick targets, update your latest targets, it's different from cruise missiles.
Well, cruise missiles can get pretty funky. I mean, look at Tomahawks, right? So, but yeah, like the idea of the wingman drone is that they would actually sort of go out and accompany the pilot and be deployable by a human pilot controlling a bunch. But I honestly think that like cruise missiles and aircraft are basically converging on one thing, which is to be a cross between a very intelligent DJI drone and a cruise missile. Because a cruise missile can loiter around, it can go up into the stratosphere, it can, it can receive comms. It is a drone to a large extent. So how maneuverable it is, what its top speed is, what its payload is, I think in the end, that's going to be the Air Force. It's just going to be like a big variety of cruise missiles to pick from.
But I just find it cool that, the militaries around the world is now moving in different directions. Like now you're going to have very differing, doctrines, which is kind of cool. It's a bit like, post World War I all over again. After World War I, right, because of the tanks, right, everybody have different idea of how tanks should work, how modern warfare should work. Now everybody is branching into different directions. So now we are seeing the same thing happening with, Air Force, where they are now trying to feed in, how do you use drones? Like you see how Ukraine use drones and how Russia use drones is different from how the Americans, conceptualize the drone thing. The Americans are still going for very expensive stuff, but who knows, it may actually dominate the whole battlefield, because because if you look at how Israel has struck Iran and dominated the sky, like it might actually still work, it might actually still work. And how Russia has failed to protect their skies, despite they have the world's allegedly number one air defense. They can't even stop Ukrainian drones flying into Russia. So if you cannot stop the drones, then you probably will have trouble stopping entire Air Force sorties, which is what Iran has faced. Now, in Qatar, didn't even know Israel is coming. So that kind of thing is interesting. How the warfare moving forward is going to be like. I feel like even myself, we have fantasies about how powerful S-400s are, how powerful air defense are, the radars were, but then these few years is just like burst all our bubbles, because it's like the Air Force are just flying in and just hit their targets and go. It's like, what the fuck, man? It's like after all the spending on the air defense, it's like no, it all doesn't work.
Oh no, I don't know if that's true. Think about how many aircraft you used to report going down in Ukraine, and that dried up quick. Like the air defense in Ukraine was working.
But those are older generation planes, right? No, they're not fighting.
Well, the air defense is designed for, like, this is the thing about air defense. It's designed for very specific weapons platforms. Some of it's designed for cruise missiles. A lot is for jets. Some is for ICBMs. And so if you are just a Cessna or a drone,
imagine you send a 200 World War II style planes, fighter. They'll be like so slow. The air defense don't know how to shoot it down.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's basically what's happened with those drone attacks. That was how they did those attacks on the bombers in Russia. Was they just saw, if we go this way with these tiny little drones out of trucks from this distance, there is no safety net. There is no protection because they haven't conceived of it. I doubt that'll work again. You'd hope not.
It's so interesting, right? Yeah, I was watching some DCS. It's like on YouTube, like they are using like modern jets fighting against World War II jet fighters, and then they got shot down by the World War II fighters. They're so funny because
really?
It's like
they had. I saw one. It was the IL-2 Donkey versus the F-22, and they fought 3 rounds, and the Donkey shot the F-22 down once because it could just get in there, and he got him slow. But even though he got shot down the other 2 times, he still managed to hit the F-22 in all 3 rounds. It was just that he only was able to get enough damage on him to kill him 1 round. The second time he shot off one of his vertical stabilizers that damaged one of the engines, but he was still able to keep it flying and finish him. And then the last time he just, he knew he couldn't fight the guy in a 1-turn slow fight, so he would just go vertical and dive down on him and shot his wing off. But yeah, it was pretty funny. The little IL-2 Donkey really gave that F-22 guy a run for his money.
I think it's because the missiles is unable to read the flying characteristic of a World War II plane.
They were dogfighting, so they were just doing cannons only, no missiles. So they were.
The one I saw is they use missiles. Even the missiles struggles to hit the World War II fighter sometimes, because of the way how it turns. It turns very differently from a jet. And I would imagine that World War I fighters will be even worse, because World War I fighter can turn in an instant.
I don't know about that, man. I'll be flying in one of those open games, and when I used to play War Thunder, like one of those ME-210s, and all of a sudden I get hit by an air-to-air missile. It's like you never even know it's coming because you have no radar warning. You're just flying along. All of a sudden you get blown in half. It's like, damn. But it's fun. Every now and then I'll get a jet, but that's just because you're flying a slow plane. You just get them in a turn or you catch them, But most of the time they just destroy you.
As I understand what the way those target acquisition radars work, it's like it has to work out what it's looking at, if it's just noise or if it's a known thing. So it's actually got like a database of known things. And if the radar signature matches that size and intensity and so on, it goes, I know what that is. And this is true of tanks and trucks and all. So basically your targeting database has all known threats in it. And if it's not in there, then it just goes, I don't know, it must be a civilian aircraft or whatever. So it doesn't give you a lock. And so I think that's why, like, you wouldn't be able to pick up any kind of like homemade aircraft because it wouldn't be in the known list of targets.
I didn't know how specific it works. I didn't know that, because that would be
it's kind of
insane, right?
You kind of have to know what you're looking at with radar, or you make a decision about what you're looking at with radar, because all kinds of stuff show up as radar, including clouds, birds, locusts.
But the F-22 managed to shoot down the balloon, right? So I'm quite sure that
That's a great
Well, they say on the radar though, like
he actually painted a balloon on his plane.
Yeah, the F-22 is like the size of a sparrow, but it's like, it's a sparrow that's going 600 knots. It's not hard. I wonder what that is. That little dot that's doing 600 knots, across the screen. I mean, I don't know how exactly it works, but it just seems like they always say that shit, like, the radar cross-section is so small. I'm like, yeah, but if they see this cross-section, no matter how small, it's like, it's the size of a bumblebee. It's like, well, there ain't no bumblebee doing Mach 1 at 500 feet, It's like, it's got to be something.
But you see, Russia can't even stop a giant biplane, flying through Russia, trying to do a kamikaze strike. It's like, it does blows my mind how radar actually works, how air defense actually works. It's like, it seems too easy to break through, air defense.
Do you think that they're getting that good of intelligence on routes to get around that much air defense? I mean, I could see them do it to a point, but it just seems by this point that there would be gaps, but they wouldn't really be gaps that a whole lot of stuff could get through, because they got those mobile gun guys too that drive around all the time, in the back of a pickup truck shooting drones down. I mean, they got. I agree with you. I don't see how all this shit gets through, especially on slow and low stuff. When you got some farmer pointing at us, like, I'm surprised the people that are filming them ain't shooting at them.
But guys, it's like Wyatt said, everybody's had their bubbles burst. Iron Dome was supposed to be the thing, right? Like, Israel was supposed to be the most protected bit of real estate on earth by the best technology, and it's not even very big. And yet, we all saw the Iranian missiles. Not Russia, not China, but Iran. We all saw their missiles get through. It's like Israel's Iron Dome did not work. And so if Iron Dome doesn't work and you're going to get missiles getting through, I think that's true of Moscow, Petersburg, New York, anywhere. And of course, this comes right back full circle to when we first started this session. Like the whole thing with the Ukraine war. It's like, well, yes, it could escalate into nuclear conflict, and no one wants that. So it's probably not going to happen. And it's the same with air defense. It's like, yeah, you could probably get through. Do you want to? Because that's pretty high stakes. Getting through air defense with a nuke. Probably everyone will have a go. And on that happy note, I'm going to say goodbye. See you all next time. Wyatt, I really approve of this time zone. I think we keep the European riffraff out.
But
keep it more,
more
powerful.
But not enough people to chat, man.
No, there is enough people to chat. We just don't go for 7 hours. All right, Snake, keep your thumb on it.